All right, so this is Close Enough by talmikal. Eorin may have been obligated to allow those humans inside her beloved ship, but she could not be ordered to enjoy this disruption to her delicate work. 1,000 sensors, perfectly calibrated and linked to her own workstation, were being disrupted by the clumsy apes as they stomped around setting up their own crude equipment. They had been civil enough, and even attempted to explain their motives to Eorin. They had been civil enough and had even attempted to explain their motives, but Eorin needed no explanation from these primitives. They desired telemetry for their own vessel's guidance, despite their protests with commands. The humans had insisted that simply linking their network, as all the other ships in the mixed fleet did, would not be sufficient for the task. Perhaps, if she could explain just how futile their efforts to make use of such advanced technology were, they would accept their own limitations and get off her ship. Her complex web of data couldn't be understood by a simple biped who lacked the finesse of a master of data. Human Telford, you cannot make... Sorry. There's a cat that wants my attention. Cat, come over here. Oh, I got you. All right. I have a cat. Human Telford, you cannot make use of that data port without disrupting its underlying purpose. Telford was busy meddling with some archaic data device, but took the time to simply smile and spoke with the same vibrating pulse that had caused another dozen instruments to go out of alignment. Thank you, Eorin, but I don't need the gravity entanglement sensor's temporal predictions. I just need the center of mass for our own fleet or the Urkon's fleet. Human Telford, that data is useless without temporal prediction. If you would just allow me to show... Wait, why would you want a single center of mass? Another smile, this time with a hint of mischief. Eorin, I thought you didn't want to know what we were doing. Irrelevant, you told me. It is. I just think I can save us all a great deal of time if I can convince you that my data is too precise for you to make use of. My talents are better utilized as a fleet observer and a strategic assessment vessel, not indulging a newborn race. Again with that smile. Eorin, I think your ship is a marvel, and I'm sorry we need to borrow her for a little bit, but I really think you're going to like this once we're done. Now, if you want me off your ship, I can do that for you faster if you can help me out here. I need you to get me a data grid with the X's, X, Y, and Z of my ships and the Urkon's capital ship position with their relative vectors. Eorin flexed all 12 of her limbs out and felt her tactile sensors. She could feel the human's absurd vessel down the nanometer at this range. There was something deeply unsettling about the humans being so eager to help with this war. An infant race that hadn't even left their own solar system, insisting on joining a battle of titans with a vessel built out of scrap and bits of junk that they had blasted into orbit on chemical rockets. They hadn't even gotten to battle on. To the battle on their own power. They hired a Melendro merchant to jump tow them to the assembly point. The vessel was approximately 1,200 meters long, but the majority of the ship was just a tube with what appeared to be a cobbled-together fusion containment chamber at one end. The bridge wasn't even attached to the bulk of the ship properly, using some sort of giant mechanical hinge instead of rigid construction. By contrast, the Urkon's capital ship was the crown jewel of her hated enemy's fleet, layers of energy barriers preventing her from feeling it the way she could with the human ship, but its exact location and vectors were easy enough to determine. Several times, while she caressed the ship with microwaves and gravitational vibrations, she felt the urge to recoil. This ship was clearly an apex predator, waiting to feast on the smaller ships of an alliance. Cat, what are you doing? Oh, I see. You found your banana. Ooh, banana. Human Telford, I have done as you asked and linked all the data with your crude human ship. Curious. Ioran's predictive sensors were starting to pulse with uncertainty. Something was going to happen in the near future. Entangled matter sensors, in theory, sensed vibrations in the future, but data could only be used to increase vigilance. The two fleets were still assembled outside of any effective weapon ranges. This shouldn't be happening. Ioran immediately tried to scan for any hidden vessels in the area, but found the humans' meddling had blinded some of her finer sensors. She checked with the rest of the observation ships and found that they were also getting the telltale flickers of impending events. Was this due to the data telemetry coming online? That's great, Ioran. Data is coming online now. Now, if we could just get a little help with the primary hull alignment, this is going to come down to about a microsecond of angle. Crude translations but the human wanted to alter his vessel's vector by several millionths of a degree. Easy to measure, but impossible to correct with fusion thrusters. Human Telford, I've updated your request to the data stream, but you won't be able to make such a fine adjustment with such a large... How are you doing that? Wait, you have chemical thrusters on the bow? Why? Ioran could actually smell the chemical puffs as the human ship made unimaginably small corrections to its heading. Again, the entangled matter sensors were pulsing. Whatever was going to happen was becoming more certain. No doubt it was because of the human ship's maneuver. She was assisting them in dramatically altering future events. Nice and easy now. Hold it steady. Ioran, are you sure you have all this right? Arrogance! How dare this human question her measurements? She could feel the irregularities of the paint at this range. She could read the ship's lettering just by slightly different chemical makeup, rather than optically reading it. Boomstick. Why, this human needed such absurdly well-calibrated data for this scrap heap of a ship was the only thing she couldn't quantify. Yes, you bumbling ape, I'm certain to a millionth of a meter and a billionth of a degree. Telford laughed and smashed a button on his device with far more force than was needed. Close enough. The entangled sensors all reset at the same time. Then every conventional sensor on her ship went blind for a fraction of a second. As they started to come back, she saw the as they started to come back, she saw the human's mechanically connected bridge had swung down and the engines were at full burn. A beautiful soup of radiation was pouring out of the front of the tube. The engines and the mechanical device were for recoil? She measured the mass of the ship again and saw it was missing over 2,000 kilograms of mass. There were trace amounts of U-235 mixed with the cloud coming out of the ship's bow. They had detonated a fission bomb inside their own ship? Fuck that guy in particular, cackled Telford. The Irkan's ship was simply gone. Pieces of it were moving at a respectable fractions of the speed of light, and secondary collisions were causing havoc to the rest of the Irkan's fleet. Off by 15 meters, Ioran. Boomstick, load up another one while we try and figure this out. This ridiculous ape wanted to do it again?